Finally, my new home is completed. I'm super excited about starting a new chapter of our life. However, out of the blue, my in-laws showed up.
We'll be living here from today. Kick your parents out.
Huh? I was bewildered and sought help from my husband, but he just sighed.
So, please break it to your parents gently.
Before he finished, my in-laws started bringing their belongings. They happily explored the house, completely thrilled. I took a deep breath and said calmly, "Do you know whose house this is?" "My name is Laura, a 35-year-old office worker. It's been almost 5 years since I married my husband, Jim. We haven't had any children yet. Despite that, we've been enjoying our lives together and are content with our current situation. However, I had one concern. My parents are getting older, and their health, particularly their mobility, is declining. After much consideration, I decided to discuss with my husband if it would be possible for my parents to live with us.
That's definitely something to worry about. It's also a way to take care of your parents, and if it gives you peace of mind, why not?"
Really? That's great. Thank you, Jim. With his immediate agreement, I truly felt grateful to be married to such a kind person. So, I started preparing to live with my parents under my initiative, but it wasn't as easy as I had hoped. My parents' home is in the suburbs and quite far from the city center. If we were to live there, commuting to work would be quite challenging for both of us. Additionally, neither of us is allowed to commute by car, making it even more difficult to live with my parents. Since we live in a 2-person rental apartment, it's not practical to bring my parents here either. And if we were to consider the possibility of having children in the future, that option becomes even more impossible. After I pondered over it, I came up with an idea. "Jim, I've been thinking about it, but what if we build a spacious new house? On this occasion, why don't we take a risk?" When I proposed this to my husband, his eyes lit up immediately, and he nodded enthusiastically.
That's a great idea. Let's build a home where everyone can live comfortably.
With my husband's enthusiastic approval, we immediately began making preparations. First, we needed to tell my parents about the plan. We told them straight away, then they looked apologetic.
"We don't want to bother you, Laura."
"When you have children, our current place will be too small, anyway. It's just right to do considering the future." I reassured my hesitant father. I told them that it wasn't just about being considerate, and finally, they understood. Although they were still reserved, they were relieved and happy, and I finally felt at ease. From then on, amidst our busy days, my husband and I made numerous visits to real estate agents. Considering my parents' needs, we preferred a location close to the hospital for them and near a train station for our convenience with work. We were suggested barrier-free options for my parents with weak mobility, so we explored various possibilities and had several meetings. Even when we asked them about their preferences since they would be living with us, they just said,
"Just being able to live with you too is more than enough."
However, my husband didn't leave everything up to me and actively contributed ideas, which helped the discussions progress smoothly. With each decision made about our new home, I couldn't contain my excitement. Taking into account my husband's opinion, suggestions from the real estate agent, and information from the internet, I placed orders with various contractors on the day everything was finally ready. Finally, everything's in place, huh?
It really was tough with so many conditions and preferences.
Yeah, it was quite a challenge while working. But I'm grateful for your opinions, Jim. We were exhausted from the non-stop preparations, but still, a sense of accomplishment filled us. It's because we took time and put in effort that we were able to achieve the perfect layout and location. Now, all we have to do is wait for it to be completed. It might take time, but just thinking about our new home fills me with excitement and gives me motivation at work. While having restless days, we started receiving frequent calls from my in-laws after they heard about the plan for our new house.
It's been a while. I heard from Jim that you're building a new house. Is that right?
Oh, yes, actually we are. They said it should be completed by the end of the year.
Well, how exciting. Jim seems to have done well, and we're proud of him. We'd love to hear more about the new house. How about you coming over soon?
Huh? Yeah, sure. That's how the conversation went with my mother-in-law. Recently, we've been so busy that we haven't had a chance to visit my in-laws, so we decided to go over there this weekend. My in-laws warmly welcomed us.
It can be tough to build a house, but it's also exciting. Having your own house is a dream come true. Congratulations.
My father-in-law was genuinely happy for us. It made me smile too. Thank you. It has been challenging, but we're really looking forward to it. I can't wait for it to be finished, but I'm also a bit nervous about any potential mistakes. Still, I'm so excited about the new house that my mind is racing. We were excited and couldn't stop smiling when we were talking.
Oh, by the way. What's the layout like?
As if she had just thought of it, my mother-in-law clapped her hands and asked, so I showed her the layout that I had stored on my phone.
Oh, it's quite spacious, isn't it?
It looks like there are too many rooms for just the two of you.
They said.
Yeah, we're planning to live with Laura's parents. We also considered the possibility of having children, so we made it a bit bigger.
When my husband answered like that, my in-laws widened their eyes.
Living together?
They looked at him.
You're going to live with Laura's parents?
Yeah, that's right. It seems like her parents are having some mobility issues. After considering many options, we decided to live together, so we're buying this house for that reason.
Oh, I see.
I see. Living together.
As my husband spoke, I noticed a shift in the atmosphere with my in-laws. It dawned on me that, in hindsight, this might not be the most exciting topic for them. I spoke up to change the subject. By the way, how have you been recently? Any changes in your health or anything?
Oh, no, nothing in particular.
Yeah, pretty much the same as last time we met.
They replied, but as soon as the topic quieted down, they quickly brought up the subject of our new home again.
Hey, I'm more interested in hearing about the new house. Which rooms will they use?
I guess for now, maybe this one.
My husband, unaware of the change in their demeanor, answered the question without any suspicion. However, when we mentioned the idea of living with my parents, I saw a complaining look on their faces. Perhaps they felt that my parents were being favored, which made them unhappy. I felt a bit awkward, but still, my parents were more important to me. The reason we built the house was also for them, and I hoped they would eventually understand. However, it seemed my in-laws weren't quite mature enough for that. As the days passed, the house progressed smoothly towards completion. Every time we visited the construction site, I couldn't help but feel excited, eagerly anticipating its completion, yet also anxious for everything to be done perfectly. My parents also visited there several times, and each time, they showed happy smiles. It made me happy to be able to take care of them like this, and I felt truly grateful for the decision to build the house. Amidst everything, I had one concern. Recently, my husband has been in frequent contact with my in-laws. It became a routine for him to visit them every weekend. Jim, are you visiting them again this week?
Yeah, that's the plan.
It seems like you've been going there more often lately.
I've been inspired by you, Laura. I feel like I need to show some filial piety too. Now that things have settled down, I should visit them on my days off.
Wow, Jim, you're so thoughtful. Should I come along with you? I also felt a bit awkward about the situation with my in-laws. I worried that they might feel neglected, and I was concerned about their well-being and health. I thought it wasn't just my husband's responsibility, so I suggested helping out with showing filial piety. However, my husband shook his head.
No, I'll be fine on my own.
Despite my persistence, he went to his parents' house alone. I had hoped he would reach out to me if anything came up, but that day, I had to let it go. Finally, the new house was completed and the moving day came, and we loaded our belongings into the car, unable to contain our excitement as we headed towards our new home. The house was even more beautiful and impressive than I had imagined. I couldn't help but let out a sigh of admiration. At last, our dream home had come true. Thinking about our new life ahead fills me with excitement. As we built a big backyard, we can even invite my in-laws over for barbecues, and when we have children, my husband and kids can play here. As I looked at our new home, I found myself daydreaming about our future life. There are so many things we want to do, and I can't wait to get started. It seemed that my parents were caught in traffic, so it would take them a little longer to arrive.
Why don't you go inside and wait?
My husband suggested, but I wanted to go inside together with them. No, I'll wait here too. As I was about to say this, my in-laws suddenly arrived in their car. Wait, why are your parents here? I wondered as I stared, and my in-laws stepped out of the car with big smiles on their faces.
Wow, it's amazing. So impressive.
This is a wonderful house that anyone could be proud of.
Right? It's the perfect house that Laura and I thought of together.
My husband responds cheerfully to their comments as they admire the house.
I see. She has quite a good taste.
We can at least praise her for that.
Thank you. They spoke to me in a somewhat patronizing manner. As I instinctively thanked them, they began unloading large bags from their car. I rushed over to them. Wait, what's with all these bags? What are you doing? Then, they made a shocking statement.
What do you mean? We're here to bring our belongings into this house, of course.
What? While my mouth was gaping open in shock, my mother-in-law sighed.
Such an obtuse wife. We're going to live here from today, so kick your parents out.
What? What are you talking about? She shook her head in disbelief and crossed her arms, looking imposing.
Normally, a wife should prioritize her husband's parents. So, we should be the ones living in this new house.
That's absurd.
Stop wasting your time and contact your parents. We need to bring in our stuff, and we don't have time for you.
She said so in a haughty manner. I felt bewildered, so I looked to my husband for help, but he remained expressionless and said,
So, please break it to your parents gently.
"Wait. What are you saying? We built this house to live with our parents. Don't say such selfish things." As I confronted him, my husband sighed in frustration.
Ugh, didn't you listen to what my mom said? As my wife, you just need to serve me. We can figure something out for your parents.
I clenched my fists. It seemed like my husband had already fallen under the influence of my in-laws. Perhaps he had always been like this, and it just hadn't surfaced until now.
Stop standing there and help carry the luggage.
They said so and arrogantly entered the house as if they owned it. Even I, the homeowner, hadn't entered yet. I felt increasingly irritated by their rudeness.
This is amazing.
The decorations are beautiful and splendid.
They looked around the house with excitement. At the peak of my anger, I coldly told them, "Do you two even know whose house this is?"
Huh?
My cheerful in-laws turned to look at me upon hearing my words.
Whose house? Obviously, it's Jim's house, isn't it?
You're not suggesting it's jointly owned by you two, are you? How presumptuous of a wife you are. It's audacious of you to speak as if this house belongs to you, when you're being supported by Jim. How shameless.
They started slamming me without thinking. There was no time for explanations. Finally, I realized that they didn't know our financial situation. Perhaps my husband hadn't explained it to them.
First of all, it's absurd for a daughter-in-law to think she can live in a house built by Jim.
Exactly. There's a limit to how shameless one can be. I feel sorry for Jim for having such an audacious wife and in-laws.
Misunderstanding my position, they continued their barrage of accusations. Fed up with their attitude, I glared at my husband and in-laws. "I understand what you're trying to say. If you insist on living here, then Jim will have to repay me for the money I put into this house." My words made them tilt their heads in suspicion.
And just how much money did you contribute?
Probably just a small amount, yet here she is making a big fuss.
They laughed with their mouths wide open as they speak. I glanced at my husband, who remained silent. I glared at him. "Why aren't you saying something? You really have too much pride. It's unbelievable that even now, you're not telling the truth."
Well.
As I pressed him, my husband struggled to find his words, avoiding eye contact.
Hold on.
She intervened.
What are you trying to say?
My husband froze, his face turning pale. Since he seems unlikely to speak up, I decided to explain everything to them. Firstly, all the money used to purchase this house came from my savings. So, this house doesn't belong to my husband. It's genuinely mine. As I said this, I noticed my husband holding his breath. I continued. "If you insist on living here, then please pay me the $500,000 that went into purchasing this house right now." As I made my demand, my in-laws froze in shock. Then, they quickly turned to my husband, clearly flustered.
"Jim, is that true?"
Is it true that your wife, Laura, bought this house?
As they pressed him for answers, he finally relented. He nodded slowly.
Yeah, Laura bought this house. She's apparently really outstanding, already a section manager, and her salary is way better than mine.
But, Jim, you've been working at your current company for quite a while, haven't you?
Yeah. And besides, you graduated from a national university. Your salary should be high.
My prideful husband must have been painting a rosy picture for them. Faced with their probing questions, he stammered in response.
Well, you see, I actually made a big mistake not too long ago. I almost got fired instead of getting promoted. I got a pay cut, and now my salary isn't much different from new graduates.
As my husband revealed everything with his head down, it seemed like they were too stunned to respond.
I can't believe. Jim.
As my mother-in-law murmured, my startled in-laws rushed over to me. They put their palms together in front of me, as if their earlier disrespectful behavior had never happened.
Laura, I'm so sorry for everything I said earlier. Please forgive us.
We're truly sorry. Please, can you find it in your heart to let us live in this house?
What? As I stood firm, my in-laws and husband kneeled down. My husband, seeing their gestures, pleaded desperately.
Please. It's my fault for not explaining anything. Could you please accept to live with my parents?
In response to their selfish remarks, I quietly said, "No matter what you say now, I won't forgive it. I bought this house to live with my parents. If that's not possible, then there was no need for me to buy it. If you insist on living here, then you must pay me $500,000 right now."
We don't have that kind of money.
In that case, you'll have to leave. When I firmly rejected them, my in-laws pleaded with me.
Please don't say that. We've already sold our house, so we have nowhere else to go.
Please, Laura, we're begging you. We don't mind even if your parents live here with us. Please let us stay.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. A house with both sets of parents living together? Where on earth does that happen? I don't care what you say. If you've sold the house, why not use that money to rent a place? As I looked down on them, all three began to cry uncontrollably. My father-in-law's voice trembled as he appealed to me.
Actually, recently, I've been in debt from investments and gambling. We used the money from selling the house and my retirement savings to cover it all. There's nothing left. We're broke now.
What?
And besides, being past retirement age, I can't work anymore, and my wife has been a homemaker all her life, so there are no job opportunities for us now. That's why, Laura, you're our only hope.
They might think I would be touched, but it serves my father-in-law right, and there's nothing to do with me. Why don't you rely on your proud son? You're strangers to me, so I don't have to support you.
Strangers. But we're your in-laws at least, right?
Unfortunately, I can't continue living with unreasonable parents who try to forcefully take over the house and a husband who not only fails to stop you but pressures me to comply. I'm divorcing Jim.
Wait, hold on.
As I stood firm, my husband uttered in a pitiful voice.
Divorce? Please don't say that. Come on, Laura.
No, I'll never forgive you. Get out of this house right now. He was panicked by the word divorce, and they continued to plead without giving up. Realizing they would linger indefinitely if I didn't act decisively, I didn't hesitate to deliver my final blow. I'll call the police if you intend to stay here any longer. My in-laws panicked and fled from my new house.
I still have the right to be here because I'm your husband.
My husband was still trying to be assertive, but I wasn't going to back down. If you insist on staying like that, I'll file a lawsuit to evict you. Is that what you want? Even though he's already messing up at work, if he gets sued and the company finds out, he'll be fired without a second thought. He realized that in an instant and, with a pitiful voice, quickly packed his things and left. Right after that, my parents arrived as if on cue. When I explained everything to them, including my husband's absence, they initially looked surprised but soon smiled with joy.
Thank you for protecting us. You're such a wonderful daughter.
Their heartfelt gratitude brought a sense of relief to my unsettled heart. While I wished my husband could understand, some things are beyond my control. Instead of waiting for things to get even more complicated, I couldn't help but feel that it was for the best to bid farewell to the family that treated their daughter-in-law so poorly. Afterward, the divorce with my husband was successfully finalized. Seeing my parents basking in the sun in the spacious garden of our new home always warms my heart. Though things didn't go as initially planned, we are living a happily cozy life in our dream home, and I couldn't be happier.